بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. رب زدني علما وارزقني فهما والهاما. سبحانك لا علم لنا الا ما علمتنا انك انت العليم الحكيم، وعنده مفاتيح الغيب لا يعلمها الا هو، ويعلم ما في البر والبحر وما تسقط من ورقة لا يعلمها ولا حبة في ظلمات الأرض ولا رطب ولا يابس إلا في كتاب مبين. صدق الله العظيم. So, inshallah, in this small Ramadan reminder, I wanted to focus on a hadith sallallahu alaihi wasallam said related to Ramadan. It says, "As-siyamu junna, fala yarfuth wala yajhal, wa in imru'un qatalahu aw shatamahu falyaqul inni sa'im." This is a very common hadith we have heard many times, where it says that siyam, fasting, is a shield. In fact, taqwa also shield, right? It shields us from any obscenities and anything which displeases Allah. So siyamu junna, fasting is a shield. Fala yarfuth, a fasting person will not engage in using obscene words. Wala yarfuth. Wala yajhal, he will not act out of ignorance. Wa in imra'un qatalahu aw shatamahu, if somebody is going to pick a fight with you, or he is blaming you, criticizing you, a fasting person will say, "Falyaqul inni sa'im, inni sa'im." Let the fasting person say, "I'm fasting, I'm fasting." In this hadith, very interesting. You see, in the hadith, in another narration, it also says, "Wala yaskhab." He will not shout, he will not yell, he will not get into an argument. This talking about this one, in Ramadan we always talk about the voluntary act more, and where we recitation of the Quran and Taraweeh and Qiyamul Layl and the Sadaqah, etc., etc. But then again, in this hadith, it says that fasting is focusing on behavioral change, self awareness, who you are as a person, how you react to certain situations. So, whatever the way we used to react in the 11 months is not the way we have to react or respond in Ramadan. This is what the hadith says, that a fasting person, even if there's an intentional effort to pick and provoke you, a fasting person will say, "No, I am fasting." He will back off. Very interesting in the sense that here it says that it's a complete behavioral change. A person may be quick to respond. He gets angry all the time. He gets really mad at other people quickly. He'll get offended quickly. But still, this hadith says that is not befitting for a fasting person. When he goes into the Ramadan, his behavior will be completely different. He will be seen as a complete different personality than how he was before Ramadan in those 11 months. And in the Ramadan, so Ramadan actually teaches us the state of discipline. I'm going to focus on this word jahl. Jahl is, that word comes from jahiliyyah. It's called that disproportionate zeal, or the agitated state. People are always in that agitated state to respond. Coming from Sri Lanka, I think Brother Nazir would also say that we have a saying in Ramadan, there's a Ramadan heat. And here we say that hungry, people are hungry. Because of that, they are angry, right? So that hunger, that Ramadan heat is actually not appropriate for Ramadan. Actually, it's the opposite of what Islam asks us to be in Ramadan, to control ourselves. And in Jahiliyyah, they say that there's a famous poem says, "Fala yajhalanna ahadun alayna, fanajhalu fawqa jahl jahilina." That means do not act and do not try to act with me with with jahiliyyah. If you do that, I will act even a greater effort or greater level of jahiliyyah with you. That means if you are bad, I'll be worse than you. If you treat me bad, I will treat you worse. This is a common saying, right? But in Ramadan, is the opposite has been encouraged for us to go into that state of discipline, state of serenity, state of tranquility. Also, it needs some effort. It needs effort. Recently, I was reading an article on the decision-making process of, they talk about there are 4 layers in our heart. The first layer is called the reactionary heart, reactive layer. And the second layer is called emotional layer. And the third one is called the intellectual layer. And the fourth one is called the deep layer. So the reactive layer is also is the one which, for an example, during an argument, which gets angry and react quickly. And another layer is the emotion layer, is the one which gets hurt. Oh, he said something to me. He did something which probably he did targeting me. And the third layer is the intellectual layer, where it tries to understand. It doesn't react. It doesn't emotional. There could be some emotion, but still it will try to understand what's going on here. Is it that why is the person said what he said? And the fourth one is the appreciative layer, is that the deep layer is appreciating. It tries to put everything together and then to understand, okay, maybe I was in a state of agitation. That's why I misunderstood that email. That's how I reacted when my son did this way. Maybe I came back from work from a lot of challenges. The moment I came home, I saw my daughter is doing this, I became angry. Or my wife is doing, my food was not good, so I became quickly angry. So this appreciative layer, the deep layer, is what the Quran asks us to go back to. This is the only thing possible when during a time of when somebody is actually picking a fight in front of us, provoking us to go to the deep layer, not reactive, not emotional, not even the intellectual, going to all the way to the deep layer and say, in Nisaim, I'm fasting. So how to put it in practice? I have been thinking, you know, it's interesting because we all have different life, like a professional life, and we also have volunteer life, community life, and a personal life, and a family life. In when we come to go outside in the professional life and the volunteer life, in the community life, we always have some guard. We always follow a kind of a decorum, what to say, what not to say, how to react, and how people will think about me. But the most we are loose flex is in our family life. When it comes to home, because of the power we all yield on our family, children, wives, spouses, mothers, fathers, uh, we lose all guard. We drop all guards and react in a way which is inappropriate. So this Quran also, this Hadith also talks about, as a fasting person, you have to be the same person where inside in all your life, especially with your family. So in this Ramadan, I've been thinking, we talk about forgiveness. We talk about asking forgiveness from Allah for every single thing we did, private and public. We also ask forgiveness from other people. Have I done something wrong? Have we ever taken the time to ask forgiveness from our children, from our wives, for all what we did? It doesn't have to be only this year. So this is a great exercise in this Ramadan to think about all for the past how many years we have been married and we have been having children. It's just one example. To go back and to recall all the examples of where we have broken that decorum and hurt them and reacted. So this soim, inni soim, this disciplined state of mind has to come into our life. That's the training Ramadan gives for us to take it forward. So in a way, the first step would be to seek forgiveness from that level, and inshallah to take this Ramadan as a first step towards that. Let me quickly share with you something very interesting I came across recently about. I hope that I have these notes here. Yeah, this is a nice story about Hajjaj bin Yusuf. It illustrates this very point of Nisaim. Hajjaj bin Yusuf, you know that he's a very ruthless leader during that time. He's a ruler. He was once walking in the desert and he saw an Arab, a Bedouin Arab. He was a shepherd. He was a shepherd. He had some calves, and he was looking after them. And Hajjaj bin Yusuf is very proud of himself. He carries himself very proudly. He said to call this guy, come on, and I'm hungry. I'm going to eat something. So I'm inviting you to come and have lunch with me. For that, the Bedouin said, Da'ani man hadha khayrun minka fa'ajabtuhu. But I have already responded to somebody who is better than you, who called me who extended an invitation to me, I responded to him. And he's Hajjaj bin Yusuf is boiling with anger now. Who could that be better than me? Man huwa, who is that? He said, the Bedouin said, Allah Ta'ala da'ani ila siyami fa asumtu. Allah invited me to fast. So that is the invitation received from Allah. I'm fasting today, so I can't have lunch with you. And Hajjaj is not giving up. He says, Fi hadal hari shadid, in this scorching heat, in the middle of the desert, you're working, you're doing this, you're fasting. He says, Naam, sumt liyawmin ashaddu minhu harra. Look at the conversation. He said, Bedouin said, yes, I fasted today to face a more scorching heat in the day of judgment, so that I'll be saved in that day of judgment. And Hajjaj is not giving up. He says, Faftar wa sum ghadan. Okay, today you just break your fast and eat with me, and you can fast tomorrow. And this person, Bedouin, asked that, in damint al-baqa ila al-ghad, can you give me the assurance that until tomorrow I will live? Now, in this level, you see that 4 layers, right? Hajjaj is here in that reactive layer. Now he goes back to a little bit to that intellectual layer. He says, I can't do that. I don't have any control over your life. For that, this Bedouin responded, فَكَيْفَ يَسْأَلُنِي عَاجِلًا بِآجِلٍ لَا تَقْدِرُ عَلَيْهِ. How can you be asking about something to do for which you don't have control over? Right. So this story actually reflects me that 4 layers of conversation: reactionary, and then the emotional. And this person, this Bedouin, all the time he was in the deep state of mind as a fasting person. So beautiful. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah khair, bro. Mashallah. I benefited greatly. This is sometimes it's you know what, subhanallah, sometimes you're right. We always focus on a lot of the external ibadah because that's kind of what we do, and that control aspect, that inner development aspect. Jazakallah khair for giving us that